Thanks for tuning in and welcome back to the shop. You ever have one of those days? Well, you know how many of those days I've had trying to figure out why the engine won't run, and now we're down to probably needing injectors. But I thought I'd check something else first. Before I go and spend a whole bunch of money on parts for this engine, I kind of want to see if the rest of the engine is okay. I know many of you have noticed and commented that the engine isn't cranking as quickly as it used to, and some of you have also heard what I hear when I have headphones on listening to this, that once in a while during the rotation there's a bit of a thunk. So the question that I want to answer before spending any money is, do we have some internal damage? Has a piston met a valve? Or do we just have a weird sounding engine? Now, finding out if a piston has met a valve on this engine is not going to be the easiest thing because of the way the whole thing goes together. But what we could do is pull the glow plugs out and see if we can do a compression test. The 4P10 is an interference engine, so if a piston was going up and a valve was coming down and they met, there will be some resulting damage. Chances are the valve is bent or the piston has a hole in it, and both of those would cause a loss of compression. Now, to do a compression test, we pull out a glow plug, insert the adapter, crank the engine over, and see how much compression we get on the gauge. Easy, right? Well, it would be if we had the right adapter in the compression test kit. Well, that's easy to fix. You just order the right one on Amazon, right? Of course, I did that a couple days ago. It just hasn't arrived yet. So if we can't use a compression test to see if we have a valve stuck, what else could we do? Well, I did have another thought earlier in the week, and I ordered another tool to try this approach. This is a Borescope camera. It is a little camera on the end. This one actually also has a camera on the side, and I thought that could be useful. If I can get a Borescope camera down through the injector hole, I should actually be able to see the top of the piston, and maybe with the side-facing camera, even see the valves. And that got me thinking a little bit more. What if I have fine damage on here? What am I going to do next? Well, I do have a spare engine, and since this engine already has all 4 injectors out, I figured I'd do a little practice run on that one. Pretty straightforward. We go down the bore of the injector until right there where I got stuck. Or at least I thought I got stuck. I thought that it wasn't going to fit through the injector hole, so I gave up on that idea. However, today I tried again, and it appears we can actually get through the injector hole. This is good. Since we already have all 4 injectors out on this engine, we can look at the top of all 4 pistons and hopefully see the valves as well. Now really, the condition of the spare engine doesn't mean anything if the engine in the truck is good, but at least I know when I look at this one, if it's not good, I already have some parts that I can use. As you also know, I haven't got injector 4 out of this engine yet, and here's my thought process on this. If I scope that engine and it's got 4 good cylinders, and I scope this engine and it's got 3 good cylinders, it's then worth going to the effort of pulling injector number 4 out to find out if number 4 is also good. If I have damage in 1 to 3, it's not even worth the time to mess around with trying to pull number 4 because this whole engine will need to come out. So what does it look like inside a 4P10? Let's go find out. Spare engine, cylinder number 1. Let's get right down through that hole. The camera on this, there we go, has a diameter of 6.9 millimeters. And the top of that piston looks pretty good. Now here's a cool thing with this little tiny camera. We can also switch to a side view, and then we can see around the side. So there's one of the valves there. Looks all right. Keep spinning around. There's another valve there. Oh, we got a chunk of rust in there. We're gonna have to clean this out for sure, no matter what, if we use this engine. So cylinder bore looks decent. There's definitely some debris there. I did try and blow this out with compressed air, so I don't think that chunk of rust has been in there. I think that's probably been knocked in. Either way, it needs to be cleaned out, but those valves look all right, and we'll just switch back to the straight down view. I would say the top of the piston looks all right as well. I don't see any damage from valves there. Let's go into number 2 and do the same thing. All right, number 2, again, some debris. Now this one definitely looks over here like something has been rattling around inside the cylinder. There's a bunch of peen marks on the top of the piston, but no indication that a valve has contacted it. There's also something over here, looks like it might be a bit of wire. I'll see if I can get some compressed air. I have had compressed air in here before, but I'll see if I can get a bit more compressed air in here to blow the debris out. But number 2, I would say looks all right. Let's see what the valves look like. Down a little farther. There we go. There's one of the valves there. Another valve there. A little bit hard to turn this camera, but looks all right. What do we got? Hard to see up above it, but cylinder wall looks all right there. So I would say on the whole, no major damage in number 2 here. Let's see what number 3 looks like. Major damage excluding those little pinhole marks. I don't think that would impact the operation, but all right, number 3 looks pretty clean down in there. I don't see any damage on that one. Doesn't look like any valves have contacted. Again, this is the spare engine. I have no idea what mine looks like, and I didn't have any history on this engine when I bought it. I bought this because I got it to buy the spare fuel pump. Same here. Looking pretty decent inside there. Don't see any damage. Let's see what number 4 looks like. Go back to the down view. And go down into number 4. Same thing. Now this piston 1 and 4 are up a little higher, so we can't see the very edges of it, but I don't see anything to be concerned about there. Let's switch to looking at the valves. Cylinder wall looks nice and clean. A little bit of debris there. Valves look okay. A lot of debris there. So it looks like probably chunks of carbon. And then I did blow compressed air in here, so I probably spread the carbon around off the top of the piston. So overall, on the whole, I would say worst case scenario, that engine is probably something that I can use to turn into a good engine if this engine has any internal damage. So let's pull the injectors 1 to 3 out of this engine and see what's going on. Now what you're about to see, I have not seen. I have not stuck anything into this engine yet. I have no idea what we're about to find. Fingers crossed, we find nothing. All right, let's see what is behind door number 1. Let's get into the top there. All right. Oh, that's what happened the first time I tried it, where I thought it was going in, but then it got stuck and didn't seem like it was going to fit. I'm getting the same thing here. I think we're reasonably looking at the top of the piston there, but for some reason my camera's not going in any further. Oh, there we go. It's a snug fit. Oh. What I don't want to do is get a Borescope stuck in a perfectly good engine. Not sure why it's not going down any further, but there we go. Just use the Borescope. Oh, that's not coming back up. There we go. Woo! Why is that so dark? Because we got goop on it. There. All right, let's see what's inside number 1. More brightness there? No. That looks like, although it's quite dark, it doesn't look to me like there's any damage there. Not sure why we're not getting much light as we were. I bet you I've scraped the side of the injector hole and covered all the lights. Yep. Let's clean that up a little bit. All right. Let's try again. There we go. That looks pretty clean. I don't see any damage. Let's see if we can see valves, although it doesn't look like any valves have hit. There we go. There's the top. That valve looks all right, nice and clean. Definitely more, I'd say more carbon buildup in here than the other engine, but cylinder wall looks all right. Hasn't been running in a couple of years, so there's a little bit of surface corrosion there. I'd say 1 is good. Let's go to 2. If cylinders 2 and 3 look like that, I'll be 50% happier, but I'll be in for 100% more work having to pull the injector out of 4. Well, let's check out number 2. See if we can get in here without getting stuck. That should be in the top. And again, pretty tight fit. I think I started to mention earlier that this camera diameter is advertised as 6.9 millimeters, and I think the hole is about the same. Well, that, a pretty good view of number 2. Again, dirty. Man, is it ever dirty. But I'm not seeing any damage anywhere. Okay, let's see if we can go to the side view. It's probably covered in junk, but let's go in a little deeper. Can't turn it for some reason. I think we've got that lens covered in oil. Oh, there we go. Again, pretty crusty in there. That cylinder wall's definitely got some nastiness on it. Again, this engine hasn't run in quite a while, so I would say we're gonna need to feed it some oil. Wow. Let's switch back to the top view. No camera. Oh, that wouldn't be good. There it is. I think again we've got debris on the lens there. That's why it's so dark. But no damage to the top of the piston. Nasty dirty, but no damage. Can we go 3 for 3? All right, how tight is this one gonna be? Now this one, we're higher up. Oh man, that is really tight in that hole. So we got quite a bit, looks like, I would assume that's gonna be diesel in there, but nasty, nasty dirty. I would say this truck has done a lot of idling. Well, let's see if we can see anything on the valves or if we just covered the camera in junk. There we go, valves all right looking there. Definitely got some oil on the lens, probably diesel. Let's see if we can clean that up a bit on the side. A little bit better. Let's pull that out and clean the lens off. A little bit difficult with a lens on the side of a really narrow hole that's covered in diesel. As soon as you slide through, you cover the lens. There we go. This engine is just full of nasty carbon junk. Now, it was a truck that belonged to the township before, so it probably did do a lot of idling. Lots of carbon up there. But things are looking all right. Let's just go to the down view again. go. It's about as far back as I can get, but I don't see any valve damage there. Definitely, probably should turn this engine over with no plugs in it and blow any of that spare diesel out, but no damage. Well, we're 75% of the way there. 1 through 3 does not look like there's any damage. Very dirty inside. I need to get that engine running and get a lot of heat in it to get all that carbon out, but no valve damage. Now that means I have to pull injector number 4. Oh, injector number 4. Not gonna be fun, are you? Look, the reality is when it really comes down to it, I would much rather be putting in the effort to pull injector number 4 than pulling the whole engine. My options at this point are either remove the cross brace with the bolts down here, cut the welds on the cross brace, or come up with a tool that allows me to pull the injector without touching the cross brace. If I had to pull the engine, the cross brace has to come out anyway. So either way, at this point, I've got to do something with the cross brace. Now, what I do know is that there's definitely an injector problem because we proved last time, as soon as I connect the injectors, the fuel pressure disappears. If I can get injector 4 out and prove there's no damage inside cylinder number 4, I'm perfectly fine ordering 4 new injectors for this engine. So what are the options for the cross brace? Well, like I said, I can cut these welds here, remove this center section, and then access the injector. And that might be an easy way of doing it. But at the same time, I was looking again at what's required down here. If we remove this piece of plastic here, we've got 1 bolt there. I believe 1 has popped out down there. And then there's a couple of clips up here. That separates it from the forward piece of plastic and the rear piece, which I think would then give me enough to just tilt this forward a 1/2 inch to get access to the top of the injector. It's highly likely that I'll be snapping some bolts in this process, and that's never fun, but I gotta do something. Well, that came out. As bad as the surface rust looks on this frame, it's actually pretty solid. Actually looks like it's only 2 more bolts to get this piece out, which should make accessing the mounting bolts for the bridge much easier. Even with some corrosion eating away at the heads of the bolts, they're still solid enough for the socket to grab them and so far to turn them out without stripping. Well, since they're all turning, I'm gonna try throwing some PB Blaster on there in an effort to not snap them. Well, I hadn't planned on giving it time to soak, but as it turns out, it's had some time to soak. So let's see if they come out now. Patience is the key. Working the bolts in and out with PB Blaster is exactly what is needed. Woo! Well, nothing like uncovering more rust. And somehow, none of them broke. Let's try the other side. Hopefully on this side, we see similar results. It's pretty warm in here. But so far, every bolt has come out without breaking. I have to say, genuinely, I'm impressed. All of the bolts came out to take the plastic apart, which gives me much higher hope of the bolts coming out for the rear cab support. And of course, once that rear cab support is out of the way, we can get it injector number 4. But that's not gonna happen today, so make sure you hit subscribe, hit like if you haven't done it already. Throw a comment down below if you've got any questions. Make sure you check out the links in the video description. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.